Today, we are going to discuss your initial greeting, setting expectations, the introduction to the sales process. So, we go into a little more detail about that particular part of the sales process. Now, we all know that the first impression is a real thing. People judge us by how we look, how we sound, and then what we actually say. So, body language is very important. Their first impression is something that you can't undo, guys. And we are not going to even try to undo it because we're going to nail it the first time. Okay. So the first thing about all of this is to understand that we're trying to get them in front of us. Remember? So whether we're initially meeting them or making the impression through the phone, through text, through an email, social media, doesn't matter. Ultimately, we're trying to get them in a consultation to start a sales process. That consultation can be online, in a virtual remote setting, or it can be in person at a brick and mortar location. Doesn't matter, trying to get them in front of us. And that's what we're discussing now. Once we meet them, either in front, right, like remotely like this, or in person, what's the introduction like? What are the things you must say every single time? And then what are you leading to? Okay. So the first thing I like to do, and we're going to assume now that we're meeting them in person, okay? That way, you can really take the same approach and apply it to online. Oh, then obviously the handshaking portion of it and things like that. But everything else is really completely the same. Doesn't really matter. First thing we want to do is, again, nice firm handshake. They're being introduced. We're coming up to meet them. Always greet them with a smile, usually a joke to break the ice, just let them know, because I want to inhabit their possible perception of what's going on. Most people come to the gym. It might be their first time, but it certainly is. It's been a while for most people. So there's a good population that meet us. They're a little bit, intimidated. Hey, it's a huge gym or it's a small gym. Regardless, it's people you haven't met before. And most people that you're going to meet are not some people that are comfortable with the gym. So are comfortable with being around social settings, maybe. You don't know. But the point is, you have to assume that might be the case. So you want to break the ice in a very friendly manner and basically empathize with them immediately. Hey, my name's Jason. Nice to meet you. Is this your first time here? That's what I always like to ask. Your first time here. Have you done this sort of thing before? Is this sort of new for you? Something like that. It's your first time here. Okay. Good news is I don't kill you the first time. I don't beat you up too badly the first time. I'm actually kind of nice to you the first time. All right. You see how that is? Very friendly, very goofy, whatever works for your personality. But I want to make sure that they feel comfortable, and I want to make sure that they know it's not going to be really serious, or they're not going to the dentist today. They're not even going to work out today. They're about to find that out too. Okay, I'm not even going to kill them the first day. I know that's not what a lot of you probably are used to hearing. But if you're good, you don't need to do that. If you're good, you don't need to do that. Now, you might, if you want to do something like that, we'll talk about that later. It's totally okay to put them on the floor a little bit as long as they're not intimidated. But for right now. Anyway, I'm not going to beat you up today. That comes next time. Next time, I'll beat you up. Now, I'm dropping to see if they're going to see me again. All right, so follow me, and as I make small talk as I'm talking to them, maybe I make some jokes. I introduce them to people on the way to the office. Again, I want to get them sitting down, away from other people, away from distractions, a place where they can feel comfortable, a nice ambiance, quiet. If we were in Vegas, where would we be, right? There'd be no windows, no clock. The air would be pumped into the room. Not exactly like that, but we don't want it to be a loud, crowded situation, and we don't want them standing up. I know there's a lot of gyms that are built nowadays to be very open, and the approach is, let's have them, do something that doesn't seem so salesy. But there's a reason why it works, guys. They're not distracted. They don't feel intimidated. That you have their undivided attention. And you get to build a relationship with them. When do you typically build a relationship? When you're dating? When you're sitting down over a meal? When you're having a drink with somebody? Having a coffee? Face-to-face, one-on-one, no distractions. Same thing. We are professional relationship builders. Don't ever forget that. First and foremost, we can do all the assessments in the world, throw all the bells and whistles in their face, have the nicest facility in the world. But if you can't build a relationship with people, if you don't know how to communicate and actively listen, empathize, ask great open-ended questions, then you're not going to sell anyone. The priority must be building that relationship, building that rapport, getting on their level, understanding what their needs are, what their fears are, what their pain points are, and then addressing those and finding a solution. So now that I have them sitting, so it's your first time here. All right, well, like I said, I'm not killing you the first time, Mrs. Jones. Let me ask you this. Did they tell you what we're going to do today? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And what I mean by that is a lot of times someone else has scheduled this appointment for you for the gym. All right, do you understand what you're doing today, in other words? And then most of the time, 90% of the time, you're going to hear, especially if you're a personal trainer, and we're selling personal training here, 99% of the time, they've not heard why they're there. This is their first member workout consult. Maybe they're not even a member yet, but they don't really know what they're getting into. They got an idea. They're just there to ask questions. They don't really know what's part of the process. It doesn't really matter why they're there. They could say, I have no interest in this whatsoever. You're still going to give them the same approach. You can deaf ear any negativity. That's okay. I'm going to tell you, Mrs. Jones, what we're going to be doing in a second. First thing is, have you done this sort of thing before in terms of the gym, or is this sort of new for you? I'm trying to figure out what their level of expertise is, what their experience is, good, bad, what have you. Most of the time, you're going to hear, it's been a while, or I don't really know what I'm doing, something like that. If they're being honest with you, 85% of the time. So now we got those out of the way. And again, it doesn't necessarily matter where the questions, although we're asking these questions every single time, the order is how the flow of the sale goes. And I talk about that quite a bit. When we are approaching anyone in any sort of sales scenario, the presentation should always be structured, but a lot of flexibility within that. And therefore, they're pliable to take it anywhere it needs to go. They're oftentimes in a situation where there's certain things I always say no matter what. I'm always trying to find their driving want. I'm always trying to figure out, how long it's been since it's worked out, things like that. But within that, sometimes I'll do this because they'll say something that triggers me to think, oh, this would be a good time to explain to them muscle imbalances. I don't know. This would be a good time to explain to them something that's worked for someone else in the past, or this is a good time to do this assessment or to talk about behavioral modification. Okay? Those are triggers that within a conversation that happen that make you say, all right, now would be a good time to present this. And again, that's about being flexible mentally and knowing when the opportune time is to display that. Now, a lot of that comes with experience, but you'll know that. Otherwise, though, I'm going to say it almost like this verbatim, okay? So I've already said, how long has it been since you've done this, or is this sort of new for you? Have you done this sort of thing before? Is your first time here sort of thing? Did they tell you what you're doing, what we're doing today? Remember, everything are the pronouns us and we, right? We're doing this as a team. This is not you and I. This is us, we, our. We're doing it together. I'm going to be here to support you, sort of thing. Then I say something to this effect. Mrs. Jones, I don't want you to have a one-size-fits-all approach. I want it to be customized. I want your experience to be customized. I want your workouts to be customized based off of what we're trying to get out of this, how we want to look, how we want to feel, your experiences, your limitations. They're going to be different than somebody else's. I don't want you to have a cookie cutter, approach. I don't want it to be generic. Does that make sense? Oh, good, because I don't want that anyway. That's what a lot of people will say. Perfect. So a lot of significant value that's built into a customized approach and spending time, which is what we're going to be accomplishing here. The reason why we're here doing this is, what is every gym on the planet or every fitness program in the world notorious for? People starting, people stopping, the whole January procrastination syndrome where someone comes in, it's been a couple years, they finally make it in January, it's going to be the time they do it, right? I'm going to do it this time. No one comes in thinking they're going to fail or not be consistent. Nobody wants to do that. Everyone comes in with a fresh slate, wanting to do well, right? And then they kind of look up and look around the gym. They walk in, they go, oh, beep, now what? And they sort of default to whatever the comfort zone is. Now, for most people, it's random machines, random classes, random workouts, maybe a workout their friend is doing, something they saw on Instagram, right? Just sort of random stuff, no real rhyme or reason. The person that's doing it looks like they're in good shape, so okay, they'll try that. So just sort of random, and then they get random results. They get bored, they get frustrated, and then you never see them again. So what good does that do us, right? So my job is to make sure I'm going to sit here and spend as much time as we need, take as long and short as we need. We're going to go over all your goals as specific as we can possibly make it. The more specific the goal, the more specific the result. Understand why we're doing it, which is going to be the most important thing in terms of building a lifestyle. Then at some point, we're going to do some assessments, right? So then we can take our goals from the abstract and make them a science, right? X plus Y equals Z. Then we know if we do these steps here, we're guaranteeing ourselves results, as opposed to what we might have done in the past, which is, hey, let's just kind of hope this works, right? And then we're surprised when it doesn't, you know what I mean? And then at that point, I'll have enough information, Mrs. Jones, that I can now steer us in the right direction. Does that make sense? And then I'm going to drop the seed there. I'm going to drop the personal training seed. Clearly, Mrs. Jones, if you need more help, we have that. I just don't want you to feel like you're ever here, ever again, think to yourself, all right, what do I do? And sort of winging it, right? Because we know where that's going to lead, right? Most people have tried that many times. Maybe you have, right? We already know what that is. That's a definition of insanity. Our job is to avoid performing the definition of insanity, which is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We're going to stop that today. We're going to do something that's going to be different, and that difference is going to be, let's figure out where you are now, and then we'll go from there. How does that sound? Okay, now you see what I did there. I dropped a seed about personal training without bringing it up. We'll talk about that later, but now it's not going to be the first time they heard it before. It's going to sit there. It's going to marinate in their minds, and then we'll cultivate that seed later. And then we also talked about how we're going to customize it. A lot of value. We also talked about, we empathize with them, right? Without me having to say, you feel like this, they'll actually come out and say to you 50% of the time, they'll say, that's how I feel, like walk around the gym, not knowing what to do. I don't want you to feel like you're ever here, ever again, Mrs. Jones, not knowing what to do. Does that make sense? So you're doing a lot there. They automatically know that you're empathizing with them. Oh, I've been like that before. That's really frustrating. I have gotten bored before, and I have used random social media sites. I have used my friend's workout. I don't really know what I'm doing. I just jump on a treadmill, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes they're going to offer that information to you before you even get there. But other times they won't, but they've been there anyway. And they don't want to feel like that. So it sounds familiar to them without you having to say, this is you. And I know you're feeling that way, right? So you set expectations right up front. You empathize with them right up front. You let them know what they're doing. And at that point, they're engaged, right? They're committed to this. And it feels like it's all about them, doesn't it? It feels customized. So they want to spend time talking about themselves. They need customized help and attention. Guys, there's a tremendous amount of value in approaching it like this. And when I perform it like this way in multiple gyms over the years of doing it this way, I don't know how many times people have told me this is the greatest, most valuable experience that I've had in a gym. The most helpful, program, whatever you want to call it. It's so now I feel like someone actually listens to me. Great. That's exactly what I want you to feel like. And then you get them with the right person. That person ideally is you, right? If you're not selling it for someone else. But the next step, naturally, you set the expectations. Now it's take out your needs analysis form. You do an intake. Now you ask them a lot of great open-ended questions, which is the needs analysis portion of the sales process, which is that's another video. But this is the number one thing to talk about right now, which is setting expectations, your first intro, your first impression, and then building the value immediately. All right, guys, hope that was helpful. This is a really important video. It really is helpful for new salespeople who are trying to sell personal training, and use what I just said to you because it works like a charm. If you set things in motion properly in the initial phase, it is going to make the rest of the experience very easy for you, and you've automatically start off on a good foot. Do it this way, I'm telling you. Okay. Until next time, guys, remember, if you need help, you need personal coaching, if you need a sales audit of your team, of your sales team, if you're a manager or an owner, if you need somebody to come in and train your team, with a variety of different methods, seminars, workshops, an entire sales course, and of course, ongoing training for your sales teams when you don't have time to train them. This is what I'm here for, guys. Feel free to reach out, leave me a message, contact me, and we'll get the ball rolling, set up a complimentary consult for you as well. And then I'll set expectations for you. All right, guys, till next time.